I used to wake up hoping the day would pass quickly, so I wouldn't have to feel anything. Today, I wake up grateful I get to feel everything. That's what recovery gave me, my life back. There are memories that feel like scars, memories stitched into your bones so deep you feel them long after the wounds have closed. For years, my addiction was both the wound and the salve, ripping me apart and sedating the pain in one vicious cycle. Picture this, a cheap, bare apartment. The curtains drawn tight, as if sunlight itself would burn. The floor is littered with bottles and burnout hope. My phone buzzes now and then, until it finally goes silent, like everyone else in my life had quietly slipped away, tired of the same broken promises. Some nights, I'd stare at the ceiling, convinced even the darkness didn't want me. I couldn't remember the last time I'd heard my own laughter. Hell, I couldn't remember the last time I cared about anything except the next fix. The shame sat heavy on my chest, pressing the air out of my lungs. I didn't know I had hit bottom until I stopped hearing my own voice in the silence. That's when I knew something had to change, or I wouldn't make it. The world outside kept moving, but mine had stopped, frozen in a haze of regret, needles, pills, and empty apologies. I'd lost jobs, one after another. First, people gave me second chances. Then, they gave up. My family's voices grew tighter each time, love twisted by disappointment, hope by heartbreak. The physical toll was obvious, bloodshot eyes, shaking hands, weight I couldn't keep on. But it was the emotional toll, the crushing guilt, the daily bargaining, the blank stares in the mirror, that really broke me. Addiction isn't glamorous. It's missing your sister's wedding. It's pawning your guitar, the last thing you love, for one more night of escape. Denial is a clever thief. It steals your dreams and whispers, you're still in control. Just one more time won't hurt. You can quit whenever you want. I lied every day, to others, but mostly to myself. I burned bridges faster than I could build them. I let friends drift away because facing them meant facing the truth. I let my parents feel the ache of helplessness, watching their child fade into someone unrecognizable. My girlfriend left after my third. I swear I'll get better. She didn't cry that last time. Her eyes said everything. You're gone already. What no one tells you is that addiction isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's just numbness, lying on a mattress on the floor, not even sure if you want to survive, just sure you can't feel anything. I collected failures the way some people collect souvenirs. Failed rehab attempts, failed jobs, failed relationships. My heart felt like a crime scene, and I was both the victim and the suspect. But the worst part, the self-hate. Looking at myself and seeing nothing worth saving. Feeling like a burden, like a cautionary tale, not a human being. The silence grew. My thoughts unraveled. The pain became familiar, almost comfortable. But underneath, there was a quiet terror. Was this really going to be my life? Was this all I'd ever be? I looked in the mirror, and for the first time, I didn't recognize the person staring back. And that terrified me. Some people think rock bottom is one big event, a single, catastrophic crash. For me, it was quieter. A slow unraveling, yes, but also one unforgettable night. It was 2 a.m., the world dead silent. I had just scored enough for another hit, but as I sat there, the room spinning around me, a cold realization settled in. This could be the last time. My heart hammered. My skin felt electric, crawling with regret. I made my way to the bathroom and caught my reflection under the harsh, naked bulb. Hollow cheeks, wild eyes, a stranger's face. The scariest part wasn't the shadows under my eyes. It was the emptiness behind them. All the lies, all the hiding, it had caught up. I felt trapped in a body I no longer recognized. Somewhere in the next few minutes, before the sun rose, before I could numb myself again, I broke. Not with a scream, not with anger. With tears. 30 years old and sobbing on a dirty bathroom floor, arms wrapped around my knees, wishing for mercy. It wasn't some epiphany where everything made sense. It was just enough. Enough loneliness. Enough fear. Enough of being afraid to live, and even more afraid to die. I grabbed my journal, the one my sister had given me years ago, its pages mostly blank. That night I wrote, "If I stay here, I will die. If I keep running, I'll never find myself. Today, I choose to stop. Today, I choose not to die." It's funny what triggers your survival instinct. For me, it was the memory of my mother's voice, gentle and frantic, begging me to come home. It was the echo of friends who tried, who cared. It was maybe, just maybe, the idea that I could still matter. Fear was still there. Doubt, too, they never really leave at the start. But for the first time, hope was sitting quietly at the table, waiting for me to notice. The first time I stayed clean for a week, I cried like a baby. Not because I was weak, but because I was finally starting to believe I was worth the fight. Anyone who tells you recovery is a straight line has never walked it. My first week clean felt like walking barefoot on broken glass, every step a test of will, every craving a hurricane raging in my chest. I checked myself into detox. Those first days, I shook so badly I thought I'd come apart at the seams. My body screamed for relief, just one more, but I had already made the hardest decision, to stay. The staff at the center were both tough and kind. They'd seen hundreds of me walk through those doors. Their eyes were tired but hopeful, and something in their calm made me think, maybe I can do this. Sleep didn't come easily at first. I lay awake, wrestling with guilt and regret, haunted by faces I'd let down. But the routine helped. Wake up, make the bed, shower, eat. Simple things that made me feel human again. Every little win felt like a revolution. Making my bed without being told. Calling my sister and hearing her voice crack with relief. Making it to a group meeting and speaking up, just once. Going a single day without lying. Relapse, though, was never far away. There were nights I almost caved. The craving would claw at me until my knuckles went white, sweat pooling on my brow. Once early on I slipped. I hated myself, feared I'd ruined everything. But my counselor, Joe, who became like a second father, told me, "You fell, but you're still here, aren't you? Get up." Again. I leaned hard on the 12-step program. At first, I went just to tick the box. But hearing other people's stories, their heartbreak, their hope, made me realize I wasn't alone. The isolation in addiction is deadly. The community in recovery is life-saving. I learned to journal my thoughts, scribbling my fears and small victories. Some days it was just, "I made it." Other days, longer entries. Today, I wanted to use more than I wanted to breathe. But I didn't. I am stronger than the urge, at least for today. Therapy became my mirror. I sat across from my counselor and learned I wasn't just an addict. I was a person in pain, using old wounds as excuses, old habits as armor. I started meditating every morning, just 5 minutes at first. Focusing on my breath, feeling it fill my lungs. I am here. I am okay. One breath at a time. There were bad days, days I wanted to disappear, days I wanted to numb. But each time, I reached out, to Joe, to a friend, to my sister. Sometimes, the bravest thing I did was pick up the phone and say, "Help." People showed up for me in ways I never expected. A friend sent me a book of poems. A stranger at a meeting became a mentor. My dad called every week, just to listen, not to judge. I found rituals that kept me grounded. Writing a gratitude list every night, even if all I had was, "I'm alive." volunteering at the shelter once a week, serving soup, hearing stories, walking outside and counting the colors in the sky. The more I invested in myself, the more hope grew. Small wins stacked up, shaky but real. I started to believe, maybe, just maybe, I was worth saving after all. My scars stopped being reminders of my failure. They became proof that I survived. Day by day, the person in the mirror started to look familiar again. The shadows were still there, but they were lighter. I wasn't just recovering from addiction. I was rebuilding who I was. Forgiveness was the hardest lesson of all, not just forgiving those who'd hurt me, but forgiving myself for all I'd done, all the pain I'd caused. I started telling myself new stories. Instead of, I'm a screw-up, I tried, I'm healing, I'm learning. Self-compassion wasn't easy. I'd spent years tearing myself down. It took practice to build myself up. Some mornings, I'd write on a sticky note, "You are worthy of love. You are stronger than your darkest day." I stuck it to the bathroom mirror. Some days I believed it. I started thinking of my life like a house gutted by fire, ruined, but not beyond hope. Brick by brick I rebuilt. A new job, nothing glamorous, but honest work that paid the bills. I reconnected with my family, apologizing not just with words, but with actions. My passions came back slow. I picked up my guitar again, the one I'd reclaimed from the pawn shop. Music, once a casualty of my addiction, became my medicine. I found ways to give back. Volunteering, sharing my story at meetings, helping someone else through a dark night. My pain had shape and meaning now. It wasn't just suffering, it was fuel for change. The people I'd hurt? Some forgave. Some didn't. Some forgave. Some didn't. I learned that not every broken thing can be fixed, but that doesn't mean it isn't worth trying. Now, when I look at my scars, I don't see weakness. I see evidence. Evidence that I came through hell and made it out alive. I had to lose everything to find myself. My rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life. You are not your worst day. You are not your addiction. You are the comeback story this world needs. If you're listening, if you're lost, struggling, or barely holding on, hear this. You are not broken. You are not alone. You are not beyond hope. Recovery isn't a finish line. It's a series of small choices, made every day, often in the dark, often when no one is watching. Progress is greater than perfection. Some days, just breathing is enough. Start there. Ask for help. Find your people. Tell your truth, even if your voice shakes. The world is full of helpers, even when you can't see them. And as you face your pain, remember, your greatest wounds can become the source of your greatest power. Here are some mantras I live by. One day at a time. This too shall pass. I am stronger than my cravings. There is hope in every sunrise. Write to your pain if you need to. I once wrote a letter to the person I was before addiction. I forgive you for being lost. I forgive you for believing the darkness. I love you for never giving up. We made it out together. Let yourself grieve, for the years lost, for the people gone. But promise yourself this, you will not let that grief define your future. Take a step, no matter how small. Go to a meeting. Call a friend. Walk outside and let the sun touch your face. Every act of courage, every little win, is a victory. If I can do it, so can you. No matter how deep the darkness, there is always a way out. The comeback is stronger than the setback. The world needs your story, your fight, your hope. You don't have to be unbroken to be worthy of love. You just have to be willing to keep rising. So rise. Start now. With whatever courage you have left. Your life, the one you've been waiting for, is waiting too. Thank you for letting me share my story. If you remember nothing else, remember this: you are worth the fight. And you are never, ever alone.